Hi, everybody. My name's Craig, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi. God, I don't want you to see the top of my head either. Well, Lord, here we go. Oh, it's fine, Stan. It's fine. Stan's so proud of the job he did on the toilets. I tell you, he does. Well, I'm real happy to be here. If you can't hear me, please just tell me. I'm sure you won't have any compunction about it. Just raise your hand and say, "Can't hear you, jerk." I'd like to thank Julia for allowing me to do this. It was a surprise call, and there's a little bit I want to say about that in a moment. And this is my son, Noah. I want to thank him for coming with me. He's kind of my spiritual buddy these days. We're going through some of the same things together, and I'd like to thank everybody that put this convention together. It takes, as you saw, an enormous amount of people to do it, and the way they do it is volunteer of their time and their effort and their love and the spirit to which Alcoholics Anonymous should live for and is proud of, I'm sure. So I personally want to thank you for allowing me to do this. I want to say that the reason it's kind of a surprise and it came out of the dark was that for a long time here, it's okay, I'll get it. For a long time, it's probably that extra dessert I ordered. For a long time, I decided that I wasn't going to speak because, and this is, I'm going to share this with you because this is what you're going to hear tonight is a lot about, in my story, you're going to hear what's happened to me. What it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And part of that is about show business, and part of it you're going to feel resentful at, I'm sure, because what you think you see here is a success. But I hope what you see here is just another recovering alcoholic. And I beg you, and I would say that the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous impose on all of us that that's exactly who and what we are. My name is not Coach. My name is Craig. I do a show called Coach. That's all I do. My job as an actor, that's not who I am. I am an alcoholic, and I'm in recovery. So, I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, and I certainly will say hello to you if you call me Coach. I don't feel good inside about it, but that's between me and my higher power. But what a journey we're on together, I swear. It was about 10 years ago, a little more than that, I went to my first convention, and it was down in Palm Springs, the Palm Springs Rodeo. The Roundup, the rodeo, the Roundup, who cares? I was one of the animals that was there, I'll tell you that. I'd had about 2 minutes of sobriety, and all I could do was just hang out the pool and look at all the pretty girls, and I didn't know I didn't know who I was. I mean, I've been drinking for so long and using drugs for so long, I couldn't tell you, just looking at all the girls and... And my wife Doria was with me, and we were just going together at the time. She'd been going to Al-Anon for about 6 years, and I remember that they had the run. I do remember that, and I went on the run, never having run in my life. But Doria was an athlete. She said, "Let's go on the run." Well, okay. Is it fun? Oh, yeah, you'll love it. So you get something on that you can run in, and you go out, and it's, what is it, like 110 at 6 o'clock in the morning? I mean, only alcoholics are out there, and so they're running down there, just a running, and it could have been a 3-mile run. It could have been a 20-mile run. It was a run, and I don't care if it was 50 feet. I was dead, dead. My feet hurt. My head hurt. My heart hurt. My body hurt. I was detoxing. I mean, sweat was coming out. It was Jim Daniels here, and it was Nowico over here, and cocaine running out of here. I mean, running. Here, get to that line, a finish line, and finish it. And all of a sudden, the anger starts coming up in it. And Doria's, like this little fawn, just trotting along. And plus, she's an Al-Anon, so I hate her immediately. There's nothing happening in her, There's nothing that... And I started off on her like you wouldn't believe. What the shit? You goddamn bitch. Shit, God. Get me out here and running, you goddamn. So we struggle across the finish line, and I got sweat pouring. I said, oh, yeah, it's great. Thanks, honey. That was really nice. Thanks. And we go to the meeting, and there was no room, to sit down, and because I arrived late. And I walked through the door, and the meeting had started, and so I came up front, and I laid down on the ground, because my sponsor told me to do that. Just go down there and lay down. Bill B. And I went down there, and I laid down, and they introduced this guy. He's in a wheelchair, and he had tubes running in his nose for oxygen. And he rolled himself up to the podium, and he was the speaker. And he says, my name is Chuck C. Keep coming back. And he wheeled himself off. And I thought, well, good God. And people stood up and they applauded. And I'm going, this guy's ready to die. What the hell are they applauding for? He didn't say anything. He wasn't even that good. And there was such an outpouring of love, an exchange of love, that even for somebody with 2 minutes of sobriety, sitting down there, laying down there, as angry as I was and as frightened as I was, I could feel it. And as I spent more time in the meetings, as I got to know Alcoholics Anonymous a little bit better, what I kept hearing was the truth. It applied to me. My case was different when I came in here 10.5 years ago. You couldn't heal me. I was dead. Mentally. Oh, I look good, but I was dead. I didn't have a coherent thought in my head when I walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was so frightened and so scared, and to be standing up here, as scared as I am right now still, but feeling the love and feeling the exchange and knowing that here, for the first time in my life, there's a safe place, that I can tell you who I am, and you can get to know me, and it doesn't matter anymore. Because I've already done my inventory. I've already told the person I needed to tell everything there is about me, and it's okay. It's okay, And that's so great. And yet at the same time, I feel like, well, there's a need to impress you. There's a need to perform for you. That's still there. And, hey, I'm still growing too. I was very fortunate when I first started Alcoholics Anonymous. I was born and raised in Spokane, Washington. It was the heart of the Inland Empire. The Lilac Festival is held there. Hopalong Cassidy came to our town. And I saw Hoppy on his white horse Topper. And I had Hopalong Cassidy outfit. And I had the 2 guns. I had the Hopalong Cassidy hat. I didn't have Topper. But when my folks got drunk enough, I used my dad. Just, come on, Dad. Ha! And growing up there was an ideal place to grow up. It was a neighborhood. We had people that you knew, that you grew up with. I went to the same school with the same kids for 12 years. And in the summers in Spokane, it was warm. You'd go up to Comstock Park and you'd swim. And you'd come home and your mom would see you there at the door. And you'd go inside. And she'd sit you down. She'd make you some lemonade or whatever you wanted. Some berries. And cream. Full, rich cream. How are you, son? I'm fine, Ma. That's good. You go upstairs and be fresh sheets. You lay in them in the summer and feel that warm wind blowing through the window, just kind of moving the curtains just a little bit. And then the spring, it's baseball. Sliding into second, hurting yourself, going home. You okay, son? Yeah, I'm okay, Mom. You sure you want me to take care of it? No, I'm okay. You go up to sleep, and there'd be fresh sheets. Your shorts would be ironed. And in the fall, you'd ride your bike through the leaves, and you'd kick them up. And that aroma, that musk of fall would just come out of there like a shot, just come up into your nose. And you'd go inside, and you'd steal a pack of playing cards, and you'd put them on your spokes of your wheels with clothespins. And for 30 seconds, you were like the quickest motorcycle driver, the quickest race car driver in the world. And then you'd go get another pack of cards. You'd come home and be a little chilly and a little nippy, and she'd fix you hot chocolate. And, how you doing, Craig? I'm doing fine, Mom. That boy. I love you, son. I love you too, Mom. And in the winter, you'd go sledding down at Manitou, down the biggest hill in the world. I mean, it was as tall as any hill in the whole world, because it just was. And you'd go down there 90 miles an hour. Some people said you'd go 100. And you might fall off, and you get snow down your neck, and you pull it out of your hands, and you roll your mittens down and look, and everything's okay. And you put on your ice skates, and you go over and skate, and you play hockey with everybody you knew. You go by a warm fire, and Mr. Rosenberg would be there, or Mr. Burtness. And they'd lace your skates up, and they'd lace them off, and you go home, and your mom would have a steaming cup of hot chocolate waiting for you. How you doing, Craig? Did you have a good time? Yes, Mom, I did. And by the time I was 19, I could hardly wait to get the fuck out of that place. Just get me the hell out of here, man. I can't take it anymore. I got drunk when I was 13, and it progressed through high school. I drank and used cigarettes and alcohol. I was a grocery clerk at Stagers IGA. I stole beer. I stole food. I stayed in Spokane until I got married. I was 19 years old. My dad had died 3 days before I was to get married, and moved down to Arizona. And I worked as a crop duster there, loading for my father-in-law. And then I went to the University of Arizona. I found marijuana there, but I really couldn't afford anything. We had our first child there, Tiffany. I left the University of Arizona in 1967, and I came out here to California on a whim, thinking I could get some work. And a friend and I joined up together. And we started writing and performing, doing stand-up comedy, and then I did get some jobs on network television as a writer and as a performer, and I was using and drinking then, but really not to a great extent because I really couldn't afford to do it. But what I did find was acid, and it was rather cheap at the time, and it was a thing called window pane, and I used to perform on it, and in about 1972 or 73, one of the guys I was writing with opened a place called the Comedy Store on Sunset with a man by the name of Sammy Shore. And we used to perform there nightly, and I used to get loaded nightly. And one night, had a particularly good night. I had about 4 hits of window pane and about, I forget what, it was downstairs, I remember that, and I performed. And did the show, and then walked off, got in my friend's car, and he was taking me to his place. We were going to go smoke some dope. And at about 40 miles an hour, I got out of the car on Sunset Boulevard, just because I was tired of riding, Didn't hurt myself, nothing happened, but there was an indication that maybe someone was doing a little too much. In 74, 75, it progressed kind of like that, and actually, the later part of 73, I moved up into the mountains of Northern California, and I built a log cabin up there on 40 acres because I was so dissatisfied with the way things were going in Los Angeles, and my wife at the time, we'd had another baby, decided that maybe I was, going nuts, and she didn't know what to do with me, so the Waltons was on. So a family decision was to move. So we got in the Volkswagen van. We moved up to Northern California and bought 40 acres of land. My mother had died, and I had some money. And I put a down payment on 40 acres, and it was nowhere. I mean, it was out in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't know how to build anything, and a friend had given me a book called How to Build Your Own Log Cabin. So now you got a dry drunk out there, an addict, with nothing around him, you know, and he's got to build a house for his family. And I have never picked up a hammer. So I went, the first thing I did was I bought a horse. Because you use the horse to haul the logs up, don't you? So I bought a horse from this gypsy horse trader for $200, and the horse's name was Jericho, Palomino gelding, the most beautiful horse I ever saw. And I got him home, and immediately the damn horse looked terrible. I don't know what happened. Between the time I bought him and the time I got him home, the horse aged like 15 years. You know, it was like the horse knew where he was going. I'm going to hell. Look who I've been bought by. This horse wouldn't do anything. Nothing. The most pissed off horse I have ever seen in my life. And picked on me. I was the object of his anger. And, it's like everything. Okay, Jericho, you and I are going to build a house together, big boy. Come on down. I'll show you the trees. I'll show them to you. So I chopped down the trees, and I got the rigging for Jericho. I found some old braces and some stuff and traces to hitch him up to, and we hitched him up, and I put a log behind him, and I mean, the minute he got a log behind him, and I've got that boy, get up! And he felt that thing behind him and had no idea what it was. He took off with my log, all the thing, and I just he's going down the road, and I'm hanging on. So I ended up hauling all the logs up with my Volkswagen van, up the hill, with Jericho eating wine. Built this house that a friend called a work of art. You know, it was the worst looking house you have ever seen. I mean, in the middle of building it, we had 40 days of rain. And the middle section of the book got stuck together. I couldn't get it apart, so I missed a whole section on how to brace your log cabin walls, you know, so the top story was leaning over. Anyway. I taught school. I was a surveyor, a logger, a plumber. I did anything I could to make some money. Anything. I made my own shakes. I sold them. You know, I split my own wood. I mean, it was, in a way, very, very idyllic. You'd come home late at night and there'd be the kerosene lamps. We had no running water, no electricity. I put it in myself. I joined the Posse Comitatus. I had people helping me build the house, and one day the greatest people in the world, they said, come on over to a meeting. So I went over to a meeting, and it turned out that they had guns and ammo, stored up in the mountains. And they were talking about that where we were living, Round Mountain, California, was targeted by the Russians. Hey. If they say, oh, who the hell cares? I mean, okay, they send something over. I mean, Round Mountain's targeted? Yep. So if they come over here, what we're going to do is create a perversion. I think he meant diversion. Greatest people, they come and they put the Saturday banquets together. You'd have, all kinds of food, and then all of a sudden 50 people be working on your house, And I had to get the hell out of there. I had to. I had no money. My family was starving. I hitchhiked back down to California and I started making a living, 1978. And that's when I found cocaine. Guy walked into my office. I had a place on Sunset and Gower. I was doing these documentaries on why artists move out of the cities into the country. I had no idea what I was doing. But I went and sold this idea to a sleazy cable company. And they said, gee, really? Yeah. I had this long beard and long hair, bib overalls. They said, you look authentic. I am. I'm a documentary filmmaker. Okay. We'll hire you. All right. How much? Good. Fine. And the next thing I know, I'm into coke so heavy, the minute I took a blast, wow, Mr. Chatty Cathy just came out. I mean, I was strong, I was husky, I could talk forever about subjects I knew nothing about. But it didn't matter because I'd get to them sooner or later. I'd find out what they were because it's all in the cosmos anyway. Hey, how you doing? Fine, thank you. Good to see you. Well, you too. How's it going? Good. Good. Got enough money? I think so. Are you going to use tonight? Oh, yeah. Maybe not. Maybe I will. Maybe at 5 o'clock in the morning I'll see the zombie people. Okay. Are you a zombie? Yeah. Are you the devil? Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. I was in such pain, so quick and so fast, I had no idea who I was. And I was working. I was working in the industry. And it made the alcohol so much easier and so quick. And I was making money, and I was separating from my wife. So I got into it very, very heavy. And that was about 1980. I first walked into the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous about 4 years later. But I've been taken to meetings up until then. And the first meeting I was taken to was by a friend in the profession who took me to a meeting in the Radford group out in North Hollywood. And there was a guy speaking by the name of Clancy I. And I was standing outside with a bottle of wine underneath my coat, looking inside at this guy do an imitation of Jekyll and Hyde. Spencer Tracy, Ingrid Bergman, Lana Turner. Unbelievable. I've never laughed so hard in my life. And I thought, if I could get sober and still have a sense of humor, I'd do that. But I don't think I can. And gradually it got worse until in 1984, I'd had maybe 60 days of sobriety. I went to New York to do a play, and I ended up drinking and using. And somewhere in the second act of this 2.5-hour play, I had a blackout. And I only worked with one other actor. There were only 2 of us. So that left him doing the play that we'd rehearsed, and me doing my play. Ooh, I bet you that was exciting. I wish I'd have seen it. But I woke up in the third act taking a bow, and that's all I remember. And I know that it must have been good, because I went off stage. People were standing, they were applauding, and they were just apparently affected quite deeply. And I went backstage thinking, that's all it takes. You see, 2/5 of Cavassier, about half a gram, and I can work again. And I'm really a genius. I mean, when you come right down to it. Because what I created out there tonight was of my own. I found it. I don't know what I did, but I'll find it again. And the director and the playwright were coming down the aisle towards my dressing room, and they were like harpies. It was like these. And I'm going, you see, there you go. There you go. If you're creative, if you're a genius, these people are going to hate you. And Doria, who happened to be there, said, Craig, that is the most humiliating thing I've ever seen you do. I said, well, thank you. You little Al-Anon shit. And the next day I ran to a meeting, and that was in January 21st, 1984, and that was it. When I went to that meeting, I was praying. I ran down Columbus Avenue, ran to the group at the YMCA on 62nd in New York there. I ran thinking that there probably won't be anybody there. I just hope one alcoholic is there. Please, just let somebody that understands me. I got there, and the room was filled. And while they're reading the 12 traditions, the guy next to me rolls up his sleeve and does himself with a needle. And I looked over, and I thought, oh, my God, I was just there. I was just there. So, at 10 and a half years today, I have been blessed with the most incredible journey that one can ever imagine. I'm being faced and given my own little tasks by my higher power. I met a guy very early on in my sobriety by the name of Frank S., who was one of Clancy's first babies, and he became my sponsor. And we had a very, very close relationship, one that I only hope and pray that any newcomers here today find someone with some time that's willing to give to you, and also that you see that you want what they have, and go for it, man, because it works. It really works. There's a new joy and a new freedom in here, and also there's a brand new discovery. At least there has been for me. My sponsor, Frank, was one of the most spiritual people I've ever met, and yet one of the weirdest individuals I have ever been around in my life. At 25 years of sobriety, he got tattooed from head to toe. And they weren't great tattoos, I got to tell you. They were not the best looking tattoos I've ever seen. The first time I noticed it was when he had his eyes done. I think the first thing he said, "Do you like it?" Man, what'd you do? Had my eyes done. How's it look? Good? Look at this one. And there's like, I don't know, it could have been a dragon or a ship. I mean, I couldn't tell, you know. And there was something going up his back and something down, you know, his butt and down his leg. And I mean, every week it was like a new addition. He says, I'm now a piece of art. But when I first met him, he was like, came up to me at this meeting in Hawaii. I'd gone over to reconcile with my kids. They were living in Hawaii at the time. I went to the pavilion meeting in Kona. And this guy walks up to me, getting off a Harley Davidson, and says, "Hey, I know you." "Yeah." "You got a sponsor?" "Yeah." "I'm going to be your sponsor over here, all right? Name's Frank. Sit down." And we started sharing, and the growth that this man instituted in my life was so incredible. I had to redo the 4-step and the 5th step. I had redid my program. And what I came to feel and what I came to know was that had I not had that, had I not had this insistence that I smile, that I be open, that I be aware, that psychoanalysts tell us, I'll change your thinking and your actions will change. And Alcoholics Anonymous says, we'll change your actions, your thinking will change. And it works. You just do the action. And you do it day after day after day. And it works, moment to moment. Because later on in my life, about 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I faced a crisis in my sobriety. I had become this thing that I told you about in the beginning. I am as insecure and as frightened and scared as anybody sitting here. And all of a sudden I became a thing. And they were looking at me to make decisions. And I don't know how to make decisions. I don't want to be a success. I like failing. That's better. You're going to have nothing to prove to anybody. You know, who wants to be a success? You know, we have the hardest time dealing with it. I do. And I didn't know how to do it. And gradually it got worse and it got worse because, see, I wanted to make the show better. I wanted to help the show. And then I got my ego involved. And then I got revelations of power. See, there's power there. I don't know how to use power. I don't know what power does. I don't know how to use it. There's people that know how to play that game. I don't know how to play it. I can do it ego-wise, and I shout. That's me. I either go ballistic or I'm calm. That's basically what you see. I get angry and I yell. There came a time when that didn't work. And there's very, very powerful people with big investments in this deal, so they start calling me to what I call the principal's office. And that's this big black tower at Universal. That's where you go when you're bad. And you have to go see the principal. So I'd go up there and I'd get these lectures. And my answer to those lectures was to pick up my briefcase and say, fuck you, and walk. And it wasn't working. They were winning. And I knew that my program had developed a little bit further than that, but I needed some help badly. So I called Frank. And he came over and we sat down for 5 hours in Venice. And he said, Craig, what do you want? What do you want? And I said, I want respect. After all the tears, all the gut-wrenching, I want respect. What else do you want? I want love, I guess. I don't know, Frank. Love, okay. All right, what else? I want calm. God, I can't do this. I just want to be calm. I'm going nuts again. Okay. You see, Craig, if you want love, you have to be willing to love and not expect anything in return. You have to love. If you want respect, you have to give respect. And don't expect anything in return. And if you want to be calm, keep looking. Keep trying. But just be calm. And don't expect anything in return. He says, what does it say in the St. Francis prayer? Where there is wrong, may I bring the spirit of forgiveness. As he said, repeat it to me. Where there's wrong, may I bring the spirit. Okay, Frank, stop it, man. Where there's wrong, may I bring the spirit of forgiveness. It doesn't say, where there's wrong, may I bring the spirit of right. So stop it. Right now. Stop it. Stop the voices. Stop the need. Stop the wanting. Stop the caring. Stop it. Do it. Be caring. Be loving. Be good. Be kind. Be good for nothing, as Chuck C. says. And I left that meeting knowing that this was going to change my life, and it did. And 3 days later, Frank was killed. And he was the most caring, loving person, and such an example of this program. And it worked. It really worked. We pray for those that have wronged us. We bring the spirit of forgiveness. And it's such a vital exchange for us as alcoholics. For me, it's worked. Because I got to tell you, it's not easy being what you see here, or what you think you see. And those of you that don't know me, God bless you. Because I don't want to get off on that tangent either. But in my life and in my journey, I have come to know a higher power that is so great and so loving and so kind and so infinite and so humor-oriented. That for those of you that are new and those of you that are just finding out about the journey, welcome, because it's going to be yours specially, You're going to be opened up to an awareness that you never dreamed existed. It says in the book, the fourth dimension, a new dimension. I recently was able to go up to Spokane. My brother-in-law, my sister's dead. My brother-in-law's been sober 5 years, and I 12-stepped him. That was a miracle in itself. This is a real drunk, you know. This is like one of the golfers you were talking about. I mean, this is. And he said, Craig, I want you to come to a meeting with me. I said, Bob, terrific, let's go. So it was on Coeur d'Alene Lake at night, fire, bonfire, the whole thing. Took a boat over there to this place where they had the bonfire and people shared and people were, you know, in the spirit of giving and loving and this kind fellowship. And it was so funny. The meeting was so funny. I had gone to my father's grave that day with Noah, my father and mother. I'd never been to their graves before. And we found the graves, and I took Noah with me because I thought, well, this is a time when my son will see me say goodbye to my mom and dad, who I didn't really know and I think were alcoholics. And this will be like a bonding thing for him and me, and a bonding thing for God, me, Dad, Mom, you know, whoever else is there will get the vibe. The vibe. And we went and bought flowers and went there and got there and found the graves, you know. Mom and Dad. All right. Took us a little while. The numbers were off, and it was a hard time finding them. In the middle of finding them, these lawn sprinklers go off. These rainbirds all of a sudden start going. And I see the girl that controls them. She's wandering down over, you know, past some other graves. And I go, hey, you know, excuse me, they'll turn the sprinklers off here. You know, Noah's sopping wet, and the flowers are like this. I'm sopping wet. She's wandering away. She doesn't even. What the hell's going on? So we look down at the grave. It says, "Please, no vases here." Well, we got a vase, and the flowers are wilting. They're drooping. I'm sopping wet. He's laughing. I'm looking at Mom and Dad going, well, this isn't right at all. I'm not in the spirit of loving, kind thing. I'm in a mean-spirited mood now. Hey, get up. Get over here. Oh, God. Hey, Dad, Mom, good to see you. We get in the car, and Noah says to me, Dad, what was that all about? And I said, I don't know, man. We're sopping wet. What is happening? We don't even look cool, you know? I mean, you can't be... We're going to see Mom and Dad. We're better, we're better, we're better. I love you, son. I love you, Dad. I love you. Yeah. We've achieved spirituality. We're now saints. I've made peace with my alcoholic folks, I think. So, we go to this bonfire meeting. And I tell the story about seeing my mom and dad. And how crazy it was. And they were laughing and everything. And we get in the boat. We're heading back to Bob's cabin. He comes to me in the boat and he says, Craig, don't you know what that was about? And I said, no, Bob, I don't. And if you think at 5 years sobriety you're going to tell me, you're screwed up. But I'll listen. Go ahead. When we buried your father, they had turned on the rainbirds, and we couldn't put the coffin in the grave. Holy God. That was my dad's sense of humor. I went back after 25 years, and the rainbirds were on, and we couldn't get in. And because I had 12-step Bob, he was able to tell me that story because I had gotten sober. And the connection went through me like a light. So without each of us telling each other, the spiritual progression just stops. It was so beautiful. And I got to tell my son, and the unbreakable golden chain is still there. The golden bowl. I'm so pleased and proud to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and let's all keep coming back. Thanks.